So welcome back to our channel, Living in North Carolina. And have you done your research and thought about moving to Hickory, North Carolina, and why it's one of the most affordable places? Well, stay tuned and we're going to go over that in this video coming up.
Alright guys, so we're going to start off with the obvious. You're probably on our channel because you're thinking about moving to Hickory, North Carolina. And you may have seen in the news and all the articles recently about how Hickory in particular is one of the most affordable places to live, not just in the state, but in the US. What was your take on it when you first moved out here? Did you notice a difference?
So there was a huge difference coming out here. Coming from California and taxes and the price of just the cost of living in general, and then coming out here, what a difference it made when I came here. From the rent to the gas to the groceries to just, quality of life in general. But really, It's a huge difference moving out from more inflated markets.
Right.
Like California, New York, Florida, yes.
Big difference. So obviously topic number one, just talking about general how affordable it is, and we're going to break it down into housing costs and job opportunities and taxes out here. But in general, to summarize, North Carolina is 4% lower cost of living than the national average, and then Hickory takes it a step further. So we're going to get into all of that, but we just wanted to make that introduction by saying, obviously in all these travel and leisure magazine, if you've seen it, we've had a ton of people relocating here, and they're talking about these articles they're reading online. And if you've been born and raised here like I have, you kind of get sort of spoiled with what seems normal to you. But I guess coming from out of state, if you're watching this video, you're probably going to notice a significant difference on what it costs just to exist, because life's expensive.
Life is expensive, but you know what? I made it able to happen. If you live in a place, especially for me coming from Los Angeles, where you're barely making it, and just to live, and then coming out here, huge difference, because now I'm able to live comfortably, do what I want, not really stress about getting to work and traffic and what's my grocery list going to look like, what's my gas bill going to look like. Big difference.
Yeah.
So
I have to throw out here too, because this is the channel about North Carolina and moving to North Carolina, not just Hickory. Of course, that's what we're focusing on in today's video, but we have to give a shout out to Raleigh, Durham, made number 8 on Travel and Leisure Magazine's most affordable places to live. So it's
2 hours from here.
Yeah, and Greenville, South Carolina made the list too, and that's not too far from here. But Hickory was number 1. So stick with us, and we're going to jump into quality of life and housing costs and all that good stuff. All right, guys. So housing is something we're well acquainted with because we do work in real estate. So we have to start with that. One of the largest line items in your budget is most likely your housing expense. And it's not just buying, but also renting, which there are a lot of places, particularly in downtown Hickory, that you can rent. But you will find that the median home price for North Carolina is a lot lower than the national average. That can eat up a lot of your budget. And we'll get into property taxes in a minute, because obviously that's a factor. If you have a mortgage or you own a property, you're going to deal with property taxes. But I was interested to see that as far as the affordability factor of our state, now this is the state, the average median home price was $161,000. It actually sounded low to me. I think there's some smaller rural areas and homes that are very affordable, clearly bringing that average down. Catawba County, which is where Hickory's at, we sit around low 3s on average. And I think maybe what we should point out is what you get for that. Because when you come from a larger market, like he came from California, obviously, and what you get in a home there versus what you would get here, I'm not even sure you could buy the land out there for what you could get a house for here.
No.
Big difference.
Yeah, because people, like, we sold some properties. Just depending on what part of LA you're at, you're selling a house that's probably 700 to 1,500 square feet on a 5,000 square foot lot, if that big, in the LA metropolitan area, and it's always going to be selling for $800 to $1 million, depending on what part of LA you're at. And out here, for that price point, you can get a house about 4,000 square feet, 3,500, 4,000 square feet on the lake, on the golf course, on the lake, and you're sitting on 2-3 acres, maybe 4 acres, depending on the property that we just sold on the water. So that is if you want to compare price to price, or you can just say, look, I'm going to sell a house and I'm going to buy something Doesn't have to. I don't want to be on a lake per se. I want to maybe pay half of what I was paying. Even for $400,000,
Yeah.
you can buy a pretty nice, good-sized home.
Nice house. Raise a
Nice
family
house,
and-
raise
yeah.
a family, about 3,000 square feet, a nice little neighborhood. I mean, it's a big difference.
Right. And I think that's why housing costs is what we want to start with, because it kind of leads into quality of life. Because if you move from a larger area and the price for the home is so much more, it doesn't mean that you have to come out here and spend the same amount of money. Most of our buyers that relocate here come out with the proceeds from their previous purchase or their previous sale, and then they land in a comparable home and they've paid half of what they made.
Yeah.
So you can move out here, sell your home somewhere else, come out here, live in the same size home or better, and then have a huge chunk of money to kind of get started with.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's all tied together.
And the people that usually calling us are relocation. They're usually coming out and they're looking for, most of the time that we get the call, they're paying cash.
Yeah.
They might be financing some of it, but they're going to be paying cash or finding a house because they want to hold some of the proceeds they sold from the previous home and just kind of buying something comparable or downsizing my home and
Yeah.
or something the
You can
same equal
simplify.
to.
Yeah, you
and
can just
simplify.
basically have the same size house you're used to and half the mortgage.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to. So cost of living and housing costs had to be the first on our list, because if you're relocating, you're going to be looking at your housing budget. And you should know that in Hickory, North Carolina, your dollar goes a lot further. So,
Yeah,
housing.
yeah, and just like I said, reach out. You know, that's why you don't want to get to talk to either one of us, because when you reach out, these are the kind of questions that you might have. Is like, where's the different parts of Hickory and this, and you know, how much can I get for this amount of money? And when you reach out, we can kind of guide you through that process. So
Yeah, so we're here to help. All right, guys, so we've touched on it before as we kind of exit talking about housing costs, and it is a natural intro into quality of life, because if you've lived in a part of the country where it's taking 2 full-time incomes and you're just running the rat race, is that what they call it?
the rat race in the big city.
The big city, and you're working your butt off, and it feels like every dollar you make is just to go to exist. Quality of life, to me, affordability of where you live has a direct correlation to your quality of life, because it does cost a lot to live and raise a family and do what you do and get to work, and your commute and your cost of living on housing and all your other expenses. But whenever you have a little bit of reprieve from that, with a lot of the lower cost of living factors in North Carolina, I think it improves your quality of life. I think that's why he noticed it, kind of a different mood here. Not that people are slow, it's that people are a little more, I guess it's less high pressure.
It's not per se slow.
Yeah.
My experience has been people aren't in a rush. That's a big one, because from LA, everybody's in a rush. Nobody talks to anyone. I mean, I'm not talking to anybody. They don't really know their neighbors. They're just kind of focused into their daily ins and out of life, and then just kind of go to work and come back. You go to work about 6 a.m. to get to work at 8. You leave at 6, get to work at 8, leave at 5,
Yeah.
get home at 7. I mean, their days are already
Like
wrapped
hours
up.
just to get to work
You know,
in a car,
yeah, so
that would stress me out.
you know, for some people that's very stressful. It's stressful for me, you know, and especially, you know, when you live in a city that the traffic basically runs your life, you had to revolve around the traffic to get to your destinations. Here, it is completely opposite. Yes, things are a little bit slower. I wouldn't say a rush per se, but just more in tune with what's going on, and you don't have this silly traffic to get to your destination. You can leave at a good time. If you need to be somewhere, if your destination is 30 minutes to get there. You don't have to
Yeah.
anticipate the traffic time in there. So that was one of the big notices of quality of life, and also like affordability of my first guy I was renting. So renting a property or house here, notice I said a house. I found a house for what I was paying for double.
For like a room somewhere else,
I was
right?
paying more money to live in a apartment, and I'm paying the fraction to get a house that was 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Then I had money saved up for groceries and whatnot. So yes, it was a lot different first moving out here.
Yeah, so I do think, you know, in particular Hickory, you do kind of notice that small town vibe, but also still like within proximity to Charlotte and major cities. You know, the schools, community events, you know, it's just all worth noting. It's it's a whole energy, I think, of a small town community and like that family type atmosphere.
Yep.
So that all enhances quality of life, and it had to be something we brought up. It's in terms of affordability and what that affords you with your quality of life in North Carolina.
Yep.
All right, guys, so if you are thinking of relocating to the Hickory area of North Carolina, it may be due to a job, or when you get here, you may be looking for a job. So we wanted to bring that up whenever we're talking about affordability, because obviously you've got to have some income when you get here. So just to kind of put it in perspective, the unemployment rate in North Carolina is actually lower than the national average. And there's a lot of projections for additional growth of job opportunities in North Carolina. And to point to Hickory specifically, there's been a lot of tech jobs coming to Hickory. Lenore is not too far from Hickory, and there's a Google data center.
That's right.
That was a $1.2 billion project to bring that in, and it gave us, I think, 250 some jobs that just came into Lenore because of that. And then also Apple has a data center that's actually in Startown, on Startown Road, and we'll do some videos about Startown, but Startown's just a little section of Hickory. So a lot of tech jobs coming to the area, and also a lot of people who work in banking and other jobs in Charlotte that commute to Hickory, because of course Charlotte, the Queen City, it's, you know, the largest city closest to Hickory, and a lot of really good job opportunities there, but a lot of people don't want to live in Charlotte. They want to live just outside of Charlotte, and that's where they end up in Hickory.
Yeah. Some, depending on what part of Charlotte you get to, it's about under an hour, and then depending how far you have to go in, and maybe a little bit more than an hour from here. So it's not bad, especially if you're used to making those drives. If the jobs are there, whatever. Especially like I said, Charlotte. Katie's not talking about Charlotte. It's one of the biggest, if not the biggest,
banking capital.
Yeah. All the financial firms that are kind of stationed, like they're out here. So a lot of opportunity and a lot of growth. Especially seeing all the other jobs and all the other tech jobs that are coming up, and we're seeing a lot of growth, and people are starting to move and relocate here.
Yeah, a lot of healthcare jobs in the triad. Of course, we're talking about Hickory, but just have to point out the research triangle of like Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill right there. Some really great colleges, universities, and a lot of tech forward research colleges and hospitals. So
Right.
there's a lot of development there as well. So there's a lot of good job opportunities in North Carolina, and a lot of good contacts to be made when you get here, finding where you want to land and work. But there's plenty to do here, and a lot of growth on the job front. So, all right, guys. So whether you are living across the country or just making a small move to North Carolina, chances are wherever you're at, you're paying taxes. And when you get here, you'll pay taxes. But they're not that bad in North Carolina. I guess to break down, obviously there's property taxes in North Carolina. I know some states don't have it, so
Some others do.
some
and
do.
They're really high.
Yeah, but one thing.
California,
Oh my goodness.
New York.
I can't even remember what theirs is, but ours is pales in comparison. I will point out though, North Carolina's done something really cool with their income tax. It's always historically been pretty low compared to the nation, but they're doing this tiered step system to progressively lower it. So at the time of filming, this is 2024, and our tax rate is 4.5% for income tax, just flat. It doesn't matter if you're married, single, if you earn it, that's the tax rate. Next year, it's gonna go down to 4.25%. And then the year after that, if you get here in 2026, it will be 3.99%. So I love that our state is trying to keep the cost of earning money down. It can be very discouraging when you feel like you can't live, work, die, inherit. There's nothing you can do without paying taxes.
Sorry for all the
some
noise.
way.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of
sorry.
external noise because we're outside and we forgot our little mics.
Yeah.
So we're
And we are in the beautiful downtown Hickory today.
yeah. So there's a lot of
On
people
North
walking
Center
by, so
Street.
you hear a lot of little things.
Yeah.
So do excuse the
Hustle and
noise.
bustle of life. But property taxes, yes, they're here. Now I will say, since this is about Hickory specifically, City of Hickory taxes is 45 cents per $100. And if you live in Catawba County, your tax value on your home probably got reassessed in the last 2 years, and they get reassessed every 7 years or so. So just keep that in mind. If you have an agent, when you're relocating here, and you should, and we're happy to help you with that if you move here, they should be asking these questions on what is the property tax bill on what you're about to buy. because that will become part of your payment if you're mortgaging the property. And if you're not mortgaging the property, you're still going to get a tax bill every year. So taxes and registration on vehicles and property. And so just look at your specific area that you're moving to. But I did want to share that about Hickory.
Well, Hickory also there's some parts of Hickory that are out of city limits.
Yeah, just county
That's a
taxes.
big one.
Yeah.
Coming out of state, I had no idea what that meant.
Yeah.
And then when I got here, they kept talking about, I don't want to be in city limits and I want to be out of city limits. Property taxes matter.
Yeah, it can easily double your tax bill. Now, if you're not in city limits, you may not have the amenities of being in the city, like, you know, sewer and trash pickup and all that good stuff. But just keep in mind, that's something to look at, and what your loan type is and where you want to end up. And so definitely, if you're moving, have a realtor help you. Obviously, we're happy to do that for you, but these are all things to consider.
These are things that if you want that kind of information, just reach out to us.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff that we're on the ground letting you know, especially me letting you know that that's a big difference that I've discovered. I was like, what is all this? And then also, out of city limits doesn't mean like you're super far away. It's really not that much farther.
No.
It's not that much farther away from downtown Hickory or other
Everything's
parts.
within 30 minutes of everything. So just something to consider. You know, if you're looking at affordability, you're coming here because you're wanting to save some money. So just look into if you're in city limits or what your tax bill is going to be. So I had to mention that because in the grand scheme of things, our sweet little state of North Carolina is really not that bad as far as taxes. And compared to where you're coming from, it could be very, very beneficial tax-wise. So I had to make the list. All right, guys, so if you are considering a move to Hickory, North Carolina, you may be wondering on the topic of affordability, what does it cost to take my family out and go have something to do? What is there to do? Maybe that doesn't even cost anything. Well, Hickory is rich with a lot of outdoor, family-friendly activities that don't cost anything. There's a lot of public parks. There's waterfront parks on Lake Hickory even. We enjoy the new one that just opened up, Wittenberg Access. It's just outside of Hickory. I don't know, it might technically still be on the edge. But it has like a little beach on Lake Hickory. And it doesn't cost you anything. You go out there and enjoy a sunny day with your kids. It's got like a little path you can take bikes and
walk it. We got that little beach.
Yeah.
Fishing. I like to fly drones on there.
Yeah. We've taken the drone out.
It's fun.
Yep. There's a lot of walking trails in Hickory. We have the downtown Hickory City Walk. It actually also goes over the water, which has become very popular. And things like the farmers market and Oktoberfest and activities community events, stuff like that.
We have a lot of concerts. Concerts right around here, walking distance in downtown.
Yeah.
But yeah, Katie was talking about like boating, and if you like the lake, kayaking, boating, if you like the fishing or the lake lifestyle, definitely a lot of things to do here. Lake Norman is about 45 minutes away, and Lake Norman's the other bigger lake. I think it's probably one of the biggest lakes in North Carolina. A lot of activity, a lot of things to do, and that's if you want to go to a bigger lake. And then from here where we're at, just behind us, if you look, I don't know if you can, but the mountains are on that direction. If you want to go to the mountains and just get away and go up to the mountains. Blue Ridge Parkway, that's about another 45 minutes away.
Yeah, a lot of hiking trails. See, Hickory is considered the foothills of North Carolina, meaning it's not like way up in Asheville and Boone where you've got like truly the mountains.
Yeah.
We're the foothills. So what that brings is a lot of accessible hiking trails. It's like you don't have to be a professional backpacker. You can just want to spend a Sunday afternoon taking your dog or your kids on like a little walk and see some scenic, beautiful things in nature. So Hickory's known for that, and there's a lot of things that you can do if you're watching your budget, being that we're talking about affordability. A lot of things you can do for activities or recreation in Hickory, North Carolina. So we highly recommend you check it out. All right, guys, so there you have it. We hope this video was helpful to you as you were considering a move to North Carolina. Hickory definitely has a lot to offer. We're happy to help answer any questions you have as you consider relocating out here. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell so you can be alerted when we put out new content about moving to North Carolina. So thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.